Lord Rexworth, and I welcome you to our Wednesday night stream. Joining me is Zoe the Demon Fox. We're going to be continuing our reading ASMR of her lovely, lovely book, The Realm, A Tale of Blood and Souls. Zoe the Demon Fox, welcome. How are you?
Hello. I'm doing well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, for those of you who may have missed the first part, that is available as a video on demand. That's up there on my YouTube page, and I believe it should be available still here on Twitch. So you're welcome to go back and review that either on my side of stream, or you can go watch Zoe's VOD. By the way, real quick, NASA, thank you so much for the resub. 2 months. Subscribe with Prime. Thank you so much for those Bezos books. Really appreciate that. Really helps me out. Really helps out the stream. Let's see. First things first, everybody. Let me go ahead and let me copy the link, and then I'm going to put this pin this to chat for about 20 minutes or so. Please like and retweet. And there's the tweet. And those of you who are on my side of stream, if you would not mind, please like and retweet that. It really helps to get the word out and helps other people to know about the stream. So thank you for that. And that'll go away after about 20 minutes. Let's see. Let me plug the usual things there on my side of chat. Of course, there's the website, lordrexworth.com, lordrexworth.com. Let's see, the Castle Rexworth Discord, open to everybody age 18 and over. Then there's the throne page. It's not a throws page. It's a throne page. I promise I can spell. Throne.com/Lord Rexworth. Again, throne.com/Lord Rexworth. And also got a throne-powered shop, lordrexworth.store. LordRexworth.store. Comms are open. Click that link there to access the coffee page and buy me a coffee. I've got voice packs, and I've also got custom voice comms available, but space is limited. Zoe, is there anything that you'd like to plug before we get started?
I actually have a plug this time because I forgot I had it. I have one of those things, a card with the 2 R's.
ZoeTheDemonFox.card.co.
It has my Twitter, my TikTok, my Throne, my Twitch, my YouTube, and my Tumblr.
Oh, excellent. If you wouldn't mind, can you DM that to me really fast, and I will pin that into chat on my end.
Last I checked, all of the links work.
Okay. Yeah, that's something else I've discovered is occasionally you do need to go in and check and make sure the links are still working. Because some of them, last I checked, they weren't working, and I was like, oh, that's not a good look. All right. There you go, chat. Please follow Zoe across all platforms. So we will pin this up there as well, and this is going to stay up until the end of stream. Right, there we have it. Right then, shall we get started here? Let me go ahead and click the record button so that I'm capturing just the audio. And let's see, I'm trying to remember. We stopped at which chapter did we stop at? Do you recall?
Chapter 9, The Machine Demon.
Chapter 9, okay.
Cassie, as often as you look at my Twitter, I would have hoped you would have noticed my card by now. It's in my Twitter description.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh, and by the way, a chat on my side. Zoe's Twitch page has been tagged in the stream title. So if you're on the desktop version, at the very least, you can click over to her page. Do give her a follow if you haven't already. Do also subscribe. Perhaps consider gifting some subs as well. If you've got an Amazon Prime, just like with NASA, you get one free 30-day subscription every month. Why not give it to Zoe here?
Aw,
so there's that. So do go follow Zoe the Demon Fox. Subscribe, gift a sub if you're feeling generous. But yes, it's always appreciated amongst all of us in the content creation realm. And with that, shall we begin?
Yes.
All right. We are continuing The Realm, A Tale of Blood and Souls. Chapter 9, The Machine Demon. The workshop of Blackrock was almost as large as the common room and constituted the primary workshop itself, along with a few side rooms, two of which were the dorms of Da Vinci and her apprentice, Callisto. Gadgets and half-finished gizmos and weapons lay strewn about across multiple workbenches and desks, and schematics lined the walls and in some spots the floor. It was an inventor's paradise. For now, though, Da Vinci was alone, sipping whiskey from an ancient-looking yet surprisingly clean bottle, and slowly stitching a flesh-colored glove. Once it was complete, she slipped it onto her left hand and looked over at a small cart in which sat the Aegis. A single bead of sweat dripped down her face as she reached out and grabbed the shield. Almost immediately she felt a painful burning sensation, not just in her hand, but within the damaged socket beneath her eye patch. The inventor held strong, although the pain was visible in her face, as she slowly lifted the shield out of the cart. Her hand's flesh began to blacken, and the pain intensified. Da Vinci grunted and quickly let go of the shield. It clattered loudly as it fell onto the workbench. With her uninjured hand, she opened a bronze book decorated with cog embossings and began rapidly flipping through pages until she found the one she was looking for.
Oh boy.
We're not starting out on easy mode with this one.
Alright, let me think about this for a second. I'm sorry for any Nordic viewers. Liebe vela piga ig skipa vilunum skipa ig pin au indoriemta pasim iga.
Instantly all pain ceased, and Da Vinci's hand was restored. She clenched and unclenched her fingers a few times, then sighed and slipped her book into her ever-present backpack that lay on the workbench. She slipped her glove back off and began opening and closing drawers, searching for a new type of fabric to use.
Neat trick. I always knew I could sense another demon around here.
Da Vinci spun round quickly, pulling a prototype weapon from her trench coat, a clockwork pistol, gears and cogs ticking idly, and a hollow-point bullet ready to fire. Upon realizing it was Calico, she sighed and lowered the pistol.
You're mistaken, Fallen.
Calico gave a small smile.
Am I, speaker?
Da Vinci turned away swiftly, beginning to idly tinker with the gadget she reached for. There was no getting out of this, Calico even knew that much.
That's no longer my name. Please don't call me that.
Calico walked up beside the inventor and watched her work.
I've suspected for a long time, you know. Since I know your secret, I felt fair to tell you one of mine. Before you fled hell, you and your closest friend forged a crown for me.
Da Vinci's eye widened, but she didn't look up from her tinkering.
Exactly. With that out of the way, what is it you're trying to do? Trying to find a way to trick my body's nature so I can hold artifacts like a normal mortal would. But if I want to see the world without fear, I need to know I can hide from Cog. You hid in Farius for decades, though. If I remember correctly, your eyes had sent you there to protect you.
Calico sighed.
Then King Zacharias took over and the sacking of the arts began.
Calico's wings fidgeted slightly as she walked across the room and looked at a rack of rifles the inventor had built.
Well, it brings you to my workshop, Calico. I'm a little busy.
Calico hopped over ever so slightly.
Oh, right. I came to ask Asbestos a favor, but he was in a meeting, so I came here to pass the time.
Calico turned and bowed.
I apologize. Don't worry about your secret, Da Vinci. It's safe with me. I'm sure my little revelation to you is enough for you to know I'm an angel of my word.
Da Vinci glanced back in time to see the fallen smile softly, and then walked to the door of the workshop. She paused, noting the ancient bottle.
She misses you, you know, Vince. You should go see her before it's too late.
Da Vinci refused to entertain the sentence.
Good luck at the Guildmaster. He's in a bad mood again.
Calico giggled.
When is he not? The worst he can do is burn me again.
Calico stepped out of the workshop, her mirth switching to a frown. She navigated the guild's hallways until she stood outside Asbestos' office.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
She stopped just before her knuckles collided with the wood. She could hear someone yelling within.
Zoe? Codex of Knowledge, Hell's Gate. The first and greatest of the demonic settlements in Hell, Hell's Gate is located on the precipice of a sheer cliff that leads into the 7th region, known as the Magma Plains. The position sets Hell's Gate apart as truly a beautiful and unique place. Despite the Queen's disappearance and Lord Nox's position as regent, it still remains the capital of Hell, and the most well-known city in all of Hell. Notable landmarks. Templarium Ataris, the largest manifestation temple in Hell. The majestic halls and wide open chambers mark the temple as one of the most beautiful buildings in all of the realms, built from master-crafted dark ores, and trace amounts of angelic true ores. The Templarium is home to a great many manifestation altars of numerous aspects, yet the most famous is the Blood Font, a blood aspect altar known for spawning only a single demon, the Queen of Hell. The sprawling temple is located in the center of Hell's Gate, and the plazas that surround it are frequented by many. The Demon Smith. Hell's Gate is home to the lesser demon Rise, better known as the Architect. Rise lives and works from her workshop near the edge of the city, close to the River of Souls. Despite working alone, Rise provides many tools and weapons to not just Hell's Gate, but to other demonic cities all around Hell. Castle Darkstone. The Queen of Hell's nigh impenetrable fortress, held aloft by the barely understood Black Warpstone. The castle hovers over the edge of the cliff Hell's Gate is built on. While abandoned and uninhabited, Darkstone has barely been touched by the passage of time. Whatever secrets the castle may contain are unlikely to ever be discovered, as Lord Nox, Darksane's shadow, has forbidden any entry into the castle, and those that defy him are not long for this world. The Black Port. 3 rivers snake their way lazily through and around Hell's Gate. River Demonica, the primordial river, lazily flows along the northern edge of the city, and via a rift that always remains open, provides a subtle appearance within Darkstone, providing a water source for its gardens, before another takes it out into the plains outside the city. The River of Souls flows idly just outside the city, but touches the eastern edges in a few places. Finally, River Sapphire flows directly through the city, providing a source of fresh water to its citizens. All 3 rivers meet but do not mix at the Black Port, where those inclined to sail their realms spanning waters may choose whichever strikes their fancy.
Chapter 10. Termination and Confrontation. Calico hesitated outside of Asbestos' door and pressed her ear against the cold wood. She could definitely hear the saint of blood within.
I've done everything you've asked of me. What more will it take for you to spill your fucking guts, Asbestos? I'm trying my hardest here.
Calico heard Asbestos' armor clink. Likely he had reclined in his chair. She briefly wondered why he never took that armor off. As far as she knew, he probably slept in it, if he even slept. Lass.
Don't you lass me, you piece of shit. You swore by the Hell Throne and the High Throne. I didn't expect a full fucking confession or anything, but at the very least, I had hoped you would tell me why it is you distrust me so much. I've done everything I can to prove myself this fucking guild of yours, risked my life over and over and over. If you think I'm gonna hurt someone, fucking give it to me straight then. I'm friends with some of these mercenaries. The Garnets love me. Why would I hurt any of them?
Calico heard Zoe's fist slam down on Asbestos' desk.
You have no idea what it's like to fall thousands of feet in total darkness and hear your bones shatter as you find the bottom of a pit. Not the faintest clue what it's like to be shot in the head with crossbow bolts, decapitated by angels. You can never comprehend the pain I go through for the sake of Blackrock, and I can't even show a tear, because I'm the Dark Saint of Blood, and if I show weakness, I'll drag the morale of all this around me down too. The least you can fucking do is humor me a little here, you stupid tin can.
Calico clenched her fist against the door with a soft gasp. She'd never realized just how much pain the Dark Saint had locked away. She started to reach for the doorknob, but hesitated, as she'd heard Asbestos stand. Ask your darling watcher if you want to know so badly, or the blacksmith you speak so highly of. They both know who you are. There was silence for a moment, before the most unhinged laughter began to echo around, even emanating out into the hall.
Oh, I fucking know they know who I am, Asbestos. But like you, they won't talk. No one will talk. Funny how that works. It's almost like whoever I was before the amnesia inspired some kind of fear. I can't see your goddamn face for that bucket in your head, but I'll know.
Zoe paused for only a second, not even giving Asbestos time to interrupt.
I'm the Queen of Hell, aren't I? There's too many fucking coincidences and overlaps to make way too much sense.
There was another drawn-out silence, then a creak of floorboards as Zoe stepped away from the desk.
I knew it.
Get out! Zoe growled softly.
I'm not done with you yet, Guilt Master. Where's the Raven Crown?
Calico turned the knob quickly and pushed the door open just in time to see Asbestos pull a sword from his sheath. Get out before I cut you down where you stand.
I used
Zoe
to think
laughed
I was the
louder.
crazy one. Sorry. You think your mortal blade will cut me down, you senile old cunt?
Hellbringer manifested in Zoe's grip. Calico beat her black wings hard and propelled herself between them.
Stop, what the hell are you both doing?
Zoe and Asbestos stared at each other. Finally, Asbestos sheathed his blade and sat back down. What do you want, Lady Calico? I'm sure you spent enough time standing outside of the door. Zoe lowered her own sword, but didn't yet demanifest it. Calico cleared her throat.
I got a little bit too into Zoe ranting and raving.
It's alright.
I know where the Queen's sword is. Not sure you'd be willing at this point.
Asbestos leaned to the side, propping his metal head on his arm wearily. I was contracted to secure out all the artifacts and fight for any that were already taken, Lady Calico. I cannot let a small spite such as this impede me. Now where is it? Calico hesitated and crossed her arms, looking at a spot on the floor.
Heaven's Gate. High King Ulrich has it.
Asbestos inclined his head. Guess I should start preparing the expedition, then. He stared into Zoe's red eyes. The saint of blood won't be following. Zoe snarled.
We'll see about that.
She teleported, leaving the pair alone. Asbestos leaned back in his chair with a heavy, muffled sigh. Calico bowed and turned to leave. Lady Calico. She stopped and turned back slightly.
Yes, Guildmaster?
Yet and I both know she'll follow anyway. Besides, she has already found out the truth. I've never done this before, but I leave the planning in your hands. Once she reclaims her sword and regains her memories, I'd like you to report back to me about how she acts, if you please. Calico nodded.
Yes, sir.
She turned and walked out of the room, closing the door behind her. With the jurisdiction over the expedition belonging to her, Calico decided on a small group not made up of Blackrock mercs. First, she had to find Zoe again. She eventually found the Saint of Blood down at the dock. Standing at the edge and flipping a golden coin, Calico folded her wings tighter against her back and approached slowly.
Hey.
The fox demon glanced at her with a look the Fallen wasn't expecting. Hesitation and fear. Calico recoiled for a moment.
What's wrong?
It was then that Calico noticed the coin in Zoe's hand was one of Styx's. Zoe stopped flipping it and held it tightly, slipping her hands into her pockets.
I wanted to ask her to come with me to get Misery's Ends, but I'm pretty sure I made her mad last night.
Calico walked up and stood beside her, looking out across the foggy body of water known as the Sea of Secrets that separated the Isle of Pillars from the mainland.
What happens? I know she wasn't there when I dropped you off.
Zoe shrugged.
I walked down the river a bit, pelting souls to the rocks. Time got away from me. When I did get back, Styx was already home and drinking, and I mean a lot.
Calico nodded slowly. Zoe crossed her arms.
She was pretty unhappy but understanding about me brushing off my disappearance. I guess I could have done more than just dismissed it entirely. I take it she said something along the lines of, think about how it affects the rest of us? Or some variation of that?
Zoe smirked.
Yeah, how'd you know?
Her smirk faded rapidly from Calico's stern glare.
She's right, you know. Just because you're... well...
Zoe finished for her.
I'm the missing queen. I'm getting amnesia from a little bunk on the head.
She looked away.
There are still things powerful enough to hurt me. Is that all?
Zoe crossed her arms tighter and faced away.
Styx told me she got attacked by wild animals.
Calico was speechless for a few moments.
By the Obsidian Throne, Zoe. She's supposed to be the love of your life and you brushed her off too?
Calico felt slightly angry on the Watcher's behalf, but took a deep breath to calm down.
I can see why she'd be angry. Hey.
They both looked up the hill to see Da Vinci running towards them, holding onto the straps of a gadget-filled backpack. She stopped to catch her breath, then stood up straight.
I heard about the trip you're taking. I want to go too. You sure? One of these days, Asbestos is gonna get angry with the fact his only engineer keeps throwing herself into danger.
Da Vinci shrugged.
He has no dominion over me. Besides, I've never been to Sigmara.
Zoe looked at Calico, who hesitated for a moment.
Well, Asbestos did say I could plan this expedition. Okay, Vince.
She turned to the Dark Saint.
How's your companion, Eris?
Zoe shrugged.
Not sure why I'd want her, but I can find her.
With a deep breath, Zoe finally turned back to the water and threw in her golden coin.
Styx, my damned soul calls to you.
The trio stood, staring at the spot the coin had splashed into the water. But as seconds turned into minutes, all eyes were on Zoe.
She couldn't possibly be so angry as to ignore a coin, could she?
Da Vinci rubbed her chin.
What drama did I miss?
A bead of sweat slipped down Zoe's face, and she laughed nervously. Calico sighed and shook her head.
Let's give it a
Goodness
day.
great.
So we can at least
Clokey,
prepare.
thank you so much for the raid.
Ooh,
Oh my
raids.
goodness, welcome in, raiders. My name is Lord Rexworth. I'm joined by Zoe the Demon Fox, and we are doing reading ASMR of Zoe's book, The Realm, A Tale of Blood and Souls. A Clokey love raid. Oh, lovely. Welcome in, Clokey, and welcome in, raiders. Hang on just a second, Clokey. I'll get you a shout out right here. There we go. Everyone do go follow Clokey5858. Having a jolly time playing Far Cry 5. Oh, that sounds like fun. Gosh, I can't remember the last Far Cry game I've played, but yes, ever so fun. Anyways, yes, please go follow Clokey, everybody. Right, let's see. And I lost my place. Where were we at?
I was in my sentence.
Why don't we start from the beginning of that last paragraph on the page there?
Sounds good.
A bead of sweat slipped down Zoe's face, and she laughed nervously. Calico sighed and shook her head.
Let's give it a day, so we can at least prepare. Zoe, find Eris. We'll head to Sigmara tomorrow.
The Dark Saint nodded, reaching down into the water to retrieve her coin, then teleported. Da Vinci let out a sigh.
Damn.
Calico patted her shoulder.
If you want to know what happened, it's a long story. Tell you what, though. I need to return to heaven and make up a report for Petra. After I return, I'll tell you all about it. 'Tis appreciated, saint of change.
Da Vinci smiled and hefted her backpack. As the pair walked back up the hill, Calico wondered if there was another reason Styx didn't answer the call. Evelyn struggled to her feet, reaching for Pox, screaming as an armored boot stomped down on her arm.
Leave her alone.
A shadowy sword was thrust outward towards Styx's throat, a warning for her to stand back.
Oh boy, it's Skeletor tonight. He is being taught a lesson for betraying us, Watcher. I suppose while Mortis has his fun, you and I should get down to business as well.
The 6-foot-tall skeleton turned fully towards Styx, who began to slowly back up towards the river.
Watcher, I've allowed you to remain a guardian of the essence of Apocalypse for this long, but it is now time you return it to me. She doesn't have to do jack shit. Salem destroyed Zoe's memories, so what are you afraid of?
Mortis, the heavily armored, 7-foot-tall skeletal warrior, tried to slam his mace down on Evelyn's leg, but corrupted tendrils from his spear had grown outward and lunged, wrapping around Mortis's hand, stalling him long enough for Evelyn to roll back, then flap her wings once to return to her feet. She wiped some blood from her mouth. Nox ignored the battle raging behind him and held out a bony hand.
She has already realized the truth due to outside interference, and tomorrow she'll be heading to Sigmara to reclaim her sword. Watcher, give me the apocalypse.
Styx hesitated.
Fine.
She reached into her trench coat, then suddenly pulled her clockwork pistol. Her first shot seemed to simply pass through Nox as if the robed skeleton truly were only made of shadow. She didn't get a second chance as she was backhanded and knocked almost into the river.
Well, it is certainly uncouth. Perhaps it is time I close another loose end. Salem letting the last Mirka live is a mistake I can no longer stomach. After your death, I'll pull the damned necklace from the river myself.
Nox raised his sword to stab it into Styx.
No.
Behind them, Evelyn tried to flap her wings and reach them, but Mortis grabbed her leg and slammed her to the ground hard. Styx stood up, gritting her teeth and staring into Nox's empty eye sockets in total defiance.
Do whatever you want to me, but I won't let you hurt my friends.
The river of souls began to boil, and Nox hesitated to strike. The ghostly forms of soldiers, angel, demon, and human alike, began to step up the riverbank, slowly forming a circle round the four. Nox took a few steps back and lowered his sword, looking across the transparent heads.
This is not over, Watcher.
Mortis and Nox were consumed by pure shadow, which shot into the air and flew off towards Hell's Gate swiftly. As quick as they had left, the ghosts vanished, the river calmed, and Styx fell to her knees, blood dribbling from her nose. Evelyn quickly ran over to the Watcher's side and hugged her tightly.
Are you alright, Styx?
Styx grabbed Evelyn's shoulders gently and pushed her away to look into her eyes.
Evelyn, what do you mean by the last Mirka?
In a hidden chamber beneath the slum district of Hell's Gate, the dark saints gathered. Nox's bony fist slammed down against the stone table.
Schemer, your plans seem to be failing apart around you, and by extension seem to be tearing us down with them.
Across from the Lord of Shadow, a horned demon with a complexion as pale as the human moon, and hair split down the middle, one side black, one side white, recoiled away. They haven't failed yet, Lord Nox. None of us could have planned for the Blood Saint coming to this realization. And as I told you, someone else gave her a kick in the right direction. That's the only sensible conclusion.
I was
Nox nodded
gonna
slowly.
interrupt and say that that is Erebus and that is a woman.
Oh. Whoops.
I'm running out of voice ideas at this point, though.
Oh, okay.
I only have so many bitches I can do.
I mean, you we can go back and do that again if you want.
Well, the pink is also a woman, so...
Oh, I see.
I mean, if you want to do Lilith, I'll do Erebus.
Uh,
Funny you should say that, Cassie. I was literally going to give Erebus a Russian accent. They haven't really... Wait, no, that's Scottish. Fuck. I've forgotten how to voice. They haven't realized yet, Lord Nox. None of us could have planned for the Blood Saint coming to this realization. And as I told you, someone else gave her a kick in the right direction. That is the only sensible conclusion.
Nox nodded slowly.
Perhaps. What you got, Rex?
Oh. You want me to do that one? Okay, remind me who this one is in the in the pink text that I'm reading here.
This is a Lilith.
Lilith. I think our first major screw-up was when we failed to take out all the major players that could stand against us. A few seats down the table, a fallen with bat wings instead of feathered wings, and luxurious dark hair, sat with her feet up on the table, idly spinning a dagger on her finger. Of course, we haven't yet found a way to kill Alexandra Cadico. She keeps reincarnating somehow. But the necromancers of Mortarion, the Smith Lords of Zacco, the Golden Company, all dead. Although the Greyfalls still live. The Mercure, a dark cackle emanated from next to her, and she giggled, stroking the burlap sack that constituted the head of Phobos's demonic puppet body. Phobos, whose true form consisted of an orb of demon essence, had painstakingly constructed a body for himself, almost like a scarecrow. As I was saying, one Mercure remains, Styx, Watcher of the River. What threat is she?
Lilith is right, Lord of Shadow. My schemes never fail.
There was a snicker from both Lilith and an ever-flaming Gadonite demon, but Erebus continued on.
And this oversight shouldn't have any effect on the future. I have contingencies in place to deal with Killico, and as long as Petra remains true to our deal, Heaven will be no threat either.
Lilith crossed her leg over the other with a sultry chuckle. Phobos delivered the message to Petra concerning what would happen if he dared betray us. Besides, he doesn't get called the Tyrant King behind his back for nothing. His motivations align with ours, enough to keep him satisfied. A robed individual, hood obscuring most of his flaky, pale face, sat up and pressed his hands against the table. I have a single inquiry, friends. Nox glanced over at him.
Yes, Demos?
A single pale hand raised and pointed at an empty seat. Where is Salem?
For the
Did I
Saints
get
of
that
Rage,
right?
I think a super calm voice is actually very fucking fitting.
So I got that right?
Yes.
Good.
Codex of Knowledge. Heaven. The realm of Heaven, the first dimension created after Essence. Unlike Hell, the High Realm could be mistaken for Essence with a few key differences. Heaven's air is far cleaner, and everything seems brighter and more beautiful. Like Hell, Heaven is made up of several distinct regions. The Steeps of Faith. No, the Steps of Faith. A mountainous region, the steps are where young angels learn to fly. They put their faith in the King of Heaven and leap from the high cliffs. Both commoner and noble... Why is this so funny to me?
I don't know.
Both commoner and noble lineages of angels use the steps, and thanks to the neighboring region of the Light Springs, few ever become injured from their practicing. Although few settlements exist in the steppes, several educational institutions exist here, including the School of Blades, founded by Argos, Saint of Blades. The Light Springs. There is no more beautiful complement to the extensive arcane tree forests of heaven than the Light Springs. Mostly used as cushions for angels that fail at their maiden flights, the Light Springs possess healing properties as well, and the waters that bubble up from their underground reservoirs are used as the primary ingredient in many potions and foods that angelic alchemists and chefs create. The Saint of Life, Kazakh, was born in this region, and due to its proximity to the Dark Steeps, spends most of his time here, so as to better assist the Fallen Havens. The Dark Steeps. Before the Hidden War, the Steeps were a beautiful place. Meadows, gentle sloping hills, and beautiful forests. After the corruption caused by the fallen queen, fragments of the Eye of the Warp began to breach heaven, settling themselves in the encroaching darkness of the Steeps. While the demonic crystals cannot grow in light, there are many caverns that dot the meadows and fields. The dark influence created by the Warpstone has caused the Steeps to be forever dark, plagued day and night by dark clouds and thunderstorms. A single pure settlement exists here, acting as a true beacon in the darkness. Its highest tower lit brightly with the eternal flame, keeping the main highway lit and safe to travel through the Steeps. An innumerable amount of fallen settlements lay around the Steeps, which only increase all the time as angels begin to lose faith in the King of Heaven and flee here or there to hell. An interesting note is that many of the High Saints are resistant or immune to the corruption warp stone, and could easily lead witch hunts to clear the region and return it to normal. Yet for unknown reasons, this never came to be. And pure angels are constantly arrested for bringing food and supplies to the fallen settlements. Regatus. The City of Flame was once the capital of heaven, but was turned into a fortress of knowledge and riches. While technically considered a small circular region on official maps, Regatus exists as the single stronghold in the darkness of the steppes, surrounded on all sides with the eternal storms and darkness. It is curious to note that the Vault of Fate dwells beneath the city, a vault where Petra stores his collection of artifacts that are gathered by his servants from the mortal world, amongst other things. The Hallowed Mines. Heaven is known for its beautiful architecture, which is all due to true ore. While all three realms share the exact same resources, Hell has hardier and darker versions, whilst Heaven has what are seen as perfected versions. The Hallowed Mines is a gigantic region of Heaven. The true ores are mined and processed. It's also home to the Halo Forges, where Forge Masters create weapons and halos for their kin. While the Halo Forges are viewed with distrust, as many of the Forge Masters aided the Fallen and built weapons and armor for them during the Hidden War, they are the only ones with the knowledge to create halos, and also hold total control over the mines themselves. Additionally, despite this distrust, the events of the Hidden War led many to realize that all was not as it should be with the role of Petra. After all, why would the loyal Forge Masters turn coat without reason? Hexad. A region named after the capital of Heaven, Hexad is home to the majority of the angelic settlements along with Hexad itself, known as the City of Sixes. Hexad is where Petra resides, within a beautiful white marbled castle that lay at the bottom of a lazy valley, surrounded by the beautiful City of Sixes. 6 pillars of light in equal intervals are built around the castle, and the people are led to believe that they exist as a defensive measure, preventing demons from entering heaven. Or so it is believed. The Desert of Purity. By far the largest region of heaven, and home to one of the largest true gold mines in the realm. The desert is not fully explored, and is usually where outcasts are forced to die, sent by Petra to walk into the distance until the sun claims their lives. The desert exists as a harsh reminder to Petra that his realm is likely larger than it seems, as no one has ever lived long enough to see what lies beyond the horizon, and return to tell the tale.
Chapter 11 of Spiders and Monarchs. Hexad, City of Sixes. The seat of power for Petra Hexawing, King of Heaven, Knight of Mercy, Judge of the Faithless, Erector of the Hexawing, a religion of his own creation. The titles went on. Yet in the majestic metropolis dark murmurs and the utterings of lunatics whispered another title. The Tyrant King. Calico sighed, folding her dark wings against her back as she walked up the main street of Hexad towards Sexing Keep. Petra had a very blatant obsession with the number 6. She subconsciously gripped her cracked halo, trying to ignore the whispered insults and jabs that were spoken behind her back from civilians and nobles. She was, after all, the only fallen even allowed entrance into Hexad. Eventually, she managed to make it to Sexing Keep, where 2 heavily armored battle angels pushed open the doors to allow her entry. The antechamber contained exactly 12 gigantic marble pillars, various paintings and statues in precise intervals around the chamber. To the left and the right led deeper into Sexane, yet straight ahead was a set of golden ornate double doors. 2 more guards there, and from experience Calico knew more guards lurked in blind spots all throughout this room. Petra's obsession with the number 6 had taught her to be wary when her counts did not bring her to this sacred number. She walked silently across the chamber, the only sound being that of her sandals clacking against the pristine floor. As she reached out towards the golden doors of the throne room, one of the guards stepped forward and held out an arm. King Petra is in an audience at the moment.
Of course he is.
Calico bowed politely, then took a few steps back, crossing her arms. As the wait went on, Calico faced away from the guards and began to tap a sandal in a specific pattern. It wasn't worth the attention of the guards, but for the fallen, she saw a movement at the corner of her eye and clenched her fingers slightly.
That isn't good.
She hoped Petra was in a good mood. After what felt like hours, but was closer to about 15 minutes, Calico entered the throne room, ignoring the stares of battle angels and nobles that littered the sides of the room. She walked straight up to the steps of the bottom of the throne and knelt to the feet of the angel that sat upon the high throne.
Your Grace.
The angel stood, unfurling 3 pairs of beautifully pure white wings. A golden halo, forged to look like a regal crown, floated above a hood likely made from the finest leather. Shiny silver armor completed the look. Tyrant or no, Petra had one thing. He looked great. He stepped down one throne stair. How should I approach this voice?
He was an asshole, if that helps.
Stand, Saint of Change. Calico did so, looking up into the shrouded visage of the King of Heaven. You've spent an unusually long time milling around Essence in Hell. I trust you have much to report. Calico cleared her throat.
The Hell Queen has realized who she is, but not yet regained her memories. The Guildmasters put me in charge of retrieving Misery's End from High King Ulrich of Sukumara. It's likely the Hell Queen will follow. I also have reason to believe that whatever scheme you've been concerned about by the other Dark Saints will have been altered due to this revelation from the Hell Queen.
There was silence for a few moments. Is that all you have to report, Lady Calico? Calico's mouth suddenly felt dry. She wetted her lips a bit.
For now it is, Your Grace. However, if you could return my companions to me, I could garner more information in the future.
There was an uproar of laughter all around the room that ended with a simple yell from Petra. Silence! Petra crossed his arms and waited for total silence before returning his gaze to the fallen. You are lucky I did not cut it to shreds and burn you alive beside it, Lady Calico. What did you hope to gain by implanting your spy master here in Hexad? Petra spoke emotionlessly, yet Calico could sense the anger boiling behind. Oops.
You're good. I kind of like the anger more than the deadpan. There is no expected gain, Your Grace. I merely wanted her somewhere safe. You and I...
Petra held up a hand. All of you, leave us. Calico looked behind her. She and Petra waiting for the throne room to clear and the guards to close the door. Continue your drivel. Calico cleared her throat.
You know how my spy master operates. Her familiars do all of the information gathering. He simply acts as their hive.
Petra chuckled. Oh, I am all too aware. I killed you once, Alexandria. The second time will be no effort on my part. Calico hesitated for a moment, looking down slightly.
And I'll just reincarnate again. You and I both know that for whatever reason, I can't die. Perhaps the God of Nothing put me here to achieve something. I'll see it through, unimpeded by even death. Holding the seamstress only makes my job harder.
Without warning, Petra reached out and grabbed Calico's wrist, effortlessly lifting her off the ground. You make such demands of me, wench, when it was you who led the rebellion against me and damned our race to be so easily corrupted. I can only imagine how things would be now had you not. I should have stricken you down before you bathed in Demonica. Maybe then you would have stayed dead.
You're hurting me.
Calico tried to free herself, kicking around and flailing her wings. Very well. I did not make you the Saint of Change because I trusted you after all. He let go, and Calico stumbled a bit to regain her footing as she landed back on the ground. You shall have your pet back, Alexandria. But heed me well when I say it will not be your head I take next time, but your wings and halo. Then I will grant you a boon of life and send you into the desert of purity. We shall see then if there's a limit to how far your soul can travel to reincarnate you. Now leave my sight, fallen! Petra sat back down on his throne. Calico shakily stood and turned, walking quickly but purposefully to the doors and pushing them open, slipping out into the antechamber.
This is Kazakh. I think you could do a good Kazakh.
Psst.
He is the saint of life and kindly, but will fight if he needs to.
Calico hesitated, then followed the noise behind one of the pillars, coming face to face with an archangel and a demon. A passing glance, the demon could maybe pass for human. She was short, almost childlike, until one really took a look. Her hair and left eye a royal purple, the pupil slit like a snake. The right side of her face was visibly ripped apart, yet showed no gore, rather an impenetrable darkness filled with tiny purple orb-like eyes. Her left arm was a mere puppet arm, its joints pulsating slightly from the tendril shoved into its interior to manipulate it. Her right lacked such a disguised, a purplish tendril undulating freely. Two chitinous three-fingered arms protruded from underneath her shirt, and she stood atop puppet legs, also visibly bulging, mostly at the joints, from the tendrils shoved into their hollow interiors. Her name was Alana, and despite being one of the more monstrous demon manifestations, she was a good friend of Calico. She was also born with the aspect of shadow, meaning she was perfect for the tasks the Fallen gave her. Calico quickly went to a knee and hugged her tight.
They hurt you at all, Alana?
The spider demon shook her head slightly, returning the hug with her three arms. Calico looked up at the archangel. That arcane helmet, the halo melted and reforged into it, was unmistakable. I am not a monster like my liege, Lady Calico. I kept her safe for you. Kazakh, the high saint of life. Calico stood and bowed slightly.
It is greatly appreciated, Kazakh. Thank you.
She looked up into the dark eye slits of Kazakh's helmet.
If I may, have you heard anything about the Dark Steps?
Kazakh nodded. Aye. The lawbringers of Purgatus have been getting more aggressive. Between you and I hear the whispers of another rebellion. Calico hugged herself.
These poor angels. Hated, despised, and hunted all because of the fallen queen.
Kazakh gently grasped her shoulder with a golden clawed gauntlet. A wise angel once told me that to avoid repeating history, we must learn from the mistakes of the past and strive to be better than our predecessors. The Fallen will not be doomed to this way of life forever, Calico. They both look at Alana, the little demon looking back up at them. You should return to your home before a zealous warden sees your little one. Alana nodded her head and spoke softly in demonic, opening a rift out of sight of the guards.
Alana, have your spiders look into the Dark Saints when you return to Hell. Be careful, alright?
Alana smiled cheerfully, revealing a single fang, and nodded. Ethereal spiders manifested on her shoulders as she stepped through the rift. It didn't close. You should go as well, Calico. The Fallen shook her head and spoke the rune to close the rift.
Look, I can't leave yet. I'm going to the steps.
Action Bastard, welcome in. Hello, Lord Rexworth and Zoe. Just popping in, listening to the ASMR goodness. Well, welcome in, welcome in. Kazakh crossed his arms. If that is the case, then may I make a request? Calico raised an eyebrow. If you can wait until evening, I can escort you to wherever it is you intend to go. I have a few deliveries to make anyway. Calico's eyes widened.
You're the one that's been delivering supplies to the settlements?
The taller angel chuckled. Not just I. Fallen or not, we are all still angels of heaven. Come, Lady Calico. After the confrontation with Mortis and Nox, Evelyn had decided the best way to recover was to overdo it on the warp stone, and thus ended up unconscious, snoozing idly back at Styx's cabin. Styx had taken the opportunity to sail uncertainly down the river, stopping it suddenly. She looked around at the blight glades for a moment and sighed before getting on her knees and bending over, reaching into the water.
Bring me the damn necklace.
She waited for a few moments, lazily dragging her hand through the cold water. The water normally froze mortals to death, and unless they were frost aspect, most demons despised touching the River of Souls as well. Yet for Styx, she'd become used to it. Styx was always cold anyway, likely due to being the Watcher. She was sure the order of the river was stuck to her or something. Styx was snapped out of her thoughts by something pushing into her palm. She sat up and held the necklace by its chain. Dangling on the end was a blue warpstone, the essence of Apocalypse. Styx had always assumed her control over the river was due to her status as a Watcher. Yet even then, she felt she had more control than one would have expected of her. For a while, she thought the river was siphoning the Apocalypse. Not that she'd disprove that one. She always believed she had a good memory, but something had always bothered her. Every demon knew where they came from, down to their aspect and the settlement they came from. Even Zoe, in her amnesic state, remembered she came from Hell's Gate. So, why couldn't Styx remember any of that sort of thing? Legends about the Apocalypse swelled in her mind. Maybe if she put it on, she could... There was a thump of boots hitting wood and the flapping of wings.
Don't.
Styx spun round and stood, relaxing, when she saw it was Evelyn.
It might kill you if you put it on.
Styx hesitated, still holding it up in front of her face.
I can feel its power even when I'm in essence, Ev.
The Fallen stepped forward.
No. All the more reason not to put it on. You kill yourself, what does Zoe do without you?
Styx lowered the necklace and frowned.
I don't think she'd give much of a shit, Evelyn.
Styx sighed and chuckled and Try that again. Styx sighed and chucked the necklace back into the river. She felt Evelyn grip her shoulder.
Okay, then forget Zoe. What about me?
Evelyn quickly added on.
Eris. Eris likes you.
Styx smiled a little, ignoring the fact that Evelyn seemed a little flustered.
Eris only likes me because I'm someone to talk to that isn't one of the voices in her head. Touché. But she still sees you as a friend. Da Vinci too. She put you that gun, right?
Evelyn poked Styx's side where the gun was holstered beneath her trench coat. The Watcher nodded slowly. Evelyn sat down against the mast.
Take us down river, would ya?
Styx looked at her in confusion.
Why? There's nothing there but monsters and outlaws. You wanted to learn about Mirkur, right? Well, I was, overdosed back at the cabin. I remembered a story about the place.
Styx nodded slowly and walked to the back of a boat. They began to sail quickly along with the current of the souls.
Oh, and another thing. There was a message from Zoe when I woke up. Tomorrow she's headed to Heaven's Gate to get an artifact.
Evelyn smiled.
According to the message, she tried to ask you to come. Fortunately, we're getting our asses beat at the time.
Evelyn pulled a green warpstone out of her pouch and crushed it.
You tried to summon me?
Styx looked down at the deck with a small smile on her face.
Let's hurry this up then.
Evelyn grinned.
I'll make you a deal. We don't find it before Solaris lights up, we can try again another time. Usually I make the deals, Ev. Oh, I know. I like to think I've repaid you twice over with souls for all the trips it take to get me Warpstone. I don't want them myself, I'm just... I don't know. Compelled to keep the river filled?
The Fallen shrugged.
If you say so. Oh hey.
Evelyn began to tell a story. Although Styx had zoned out, Evelyn was right. Despite how simple being a Watcher was, Styx was almost unreasonably attracted to souls. And she had to admit, even having them in the river didn't always satisfy her. It was strange. She hoped they could find the answers to all of this, and what Mirkur was.
What do you think so far?
So far, really good. I have to admit, I rather enjoyed playing the part of Petra. That was that was good. What's that?
You liked yelling.
Yes. It's been a while since I've commanded out of nowhere. Silence!
Silence, fools!
No, this is really, really good. I'm enjoying this.
And there's like 60 chapters to go.
We're making good progress. We've got chat. Just a little inside peek here. We've got 209 pages to work with, and we are at page 46 thus far. Best Brit, welcome in. Hello, you Grace Smelly. Well, hello to you too, Grace Smelly.
Considering all the Codex of Knowledge chapters, I guess it's more like 100 pages or 100 chapters.
Yeah, I'm glad you have those in there. I need the hydration breaks.
Yeah.
Anyways, shall we continue?
Yes. Codex of
Sounds like
Knowledge. I got water around here somewhere. Here it is.
Lord Rexworth redeemed Hydrate.
Ironic. That's also redeemed Hydrate on my end. So
All good going through those pages, but can you read? Of course I can read. Who do you think you're talking to, eh?
He can read very well. You should have heard his Petra.
Hmm.
Even I felt like shutting up for a while. Codex of Knowledge. The Great Demon Families. While demons have no true concept of family, only forming family units to care for demons with the unfortunate lack to manifest in child forms, there are still those that gather together via bond and skill, creating a new lineage, not tied to manifestation. The most prominent of these families are Zako, Mjolnir, Killrest, and Greyfall. These and many others began as small settlements and evolved to something greater. Notable houses. Zako. The Smith Lords are primarily known for their skill at forge work, and in their prime, their skill could match even that of Rise. Zako was made up of both greater and lesser demons, usually of the fire aspect. Zako unfortunately disappeared and its main settlement ransacked, but survivors lay in hiding around Hell. Mortarion. The demons of Mortarion built their nobility around the aspects of death, shadow, and plague. They filled their family exclusively with graders of these three aspects. People of Mortarion, known as the First Necromancers, rivaled Urzabero, a mortal and the strongest necromancer in the mortal realm. Nox, or the Shadow, was once a member of Mortarion, but abandoned the name to serve as a Dark Saint. Mortarion was utterly wiped out, and a secret mission led to destroy all death altars around Hell, shattering not only the family, but ensuring no death aspect demons could ever manifest ever again. Greyfall. The demons of Greyfall were made up entirely of lessers, and happily adopted any aspect into their family. The demons of Greyfall served primarily as soldiers in the armies of Hell during the Ancient War. After the Queen of Hell vanished, so too did House Greyfall, likely to avoid total annihilation like the others. Greyfalls have been spotted all across Hell, and even in the mortal realm, showing that despite scattering to the winds, they are still strong. Mjolnir. Long before the Queen of Hell established her kingdom, there existed Mjolnir, a lonely settlement deep in the Eternal Forest. Mjolnir was a small family, adopting only those with the soul aspect, and fiercely guarding both the River of Souls and one of only a handful of soul altars. When the Dark Kingdom rose, they pledged themselves to the Queen of Hell, who instated the role of Watcher, a Mjolnir demon who would guard the River of Souls and keep an eye on its dead residents. Hell has only known one Watcher, as during the era of the Pact of Peace, all soul altars were destroyed, and the village itself vanished from all official and unofficial maps, along with all contact with the humble settlement.
Chapter 12. The Dark Steps. While the main roadway used by the angels went close to Purgatus, to be safe beneath its light, many smaller roads crisscrossed the rain-soaked landscape of the Dark Steps, leading this way and that way, usually purposely constructed to pass small warpstone outcroppings to act as deterrents. The secret of the matter was these outcroppings were believed to be corrupting via proximity, only to those loyalists that followed the faith of the Hexawing. Disillusioned angels, especially Kazakh with second-hand experience, knew that only contact and crushing the crystals was corruptive. Not that becoming a fallen was a fear they held. Best Brit, thank you for the follow, sir. Thank you. Calico raised her black wings, trying in vain to stop the rain from pelting her. Kazakh chuckled, sitting next to her upon the horse-drawn cart. It's only water, Lady Calico. Last I checked, you were a fallen, not a witch. I doubt you're going to melt. Calico hesitantly lowered her wings and glanced behind them for a moment.
Perhaps.
Kazakh had managed to put together several convoys that had split up the deeper they went into the steppes. This particular group consisted of 4 carts, and after stopping off at a few settlements, his entourage had grown to include fallen amongst the pure angels that had walked alongside the carts. Calico had been a little surprised that both pure and fallen escorted them, but as Kazakh had explained once they were underway, the lawbringers of Percatus sometimes wandered the steppes, looking for these very convoys, and while it pained him to do so, Kazakh gave free rein to kill them. The good of the many came before the needs of the few, and far more would survive in the long run this way. Calico looked up at her soaked reflection in the side of Kazakh's helmet. For a man that enjoyed life in all of its forms, it was ironic that he was a skilled fighter, only a few steps below Argos, the Saint of Blades. The Fallen turned her gaze forward again.
We've been to Port Ara and Algar's Crossing so far. Where are we headed next, Kazakh?
As if on cue, the carts began to trudge into a forest, definitely helping with the rain at the very least. You were born here in the steppes, weren't you? Back before the darkness settled on the land.
I was, yes.
What was the name of your village? Calico looked up, as if trying to pierce the dark clouds above with her eyes.
Lune Lumen. Moonlight.
Kazakh chuckled. Somehow I find the name fitting. Calico nodded slowly, looking down at her hands.
I haven't been home since the Hidden War. I wonder if they remember me.
Kazakh idly gripped the reins and adjusted himself, his armor clanking softly. I've been to Moonlight recently. It's a beautiful place, and I dare say one of the largest fallen settlements out there. I wish Petra would realize the fallen are no longer a threat. He mumbled something, but Calico caught what he said. They were never a threat. It made her smile slightly. She remembered a conversation she had with Zoe long ago. While she hadn't really gone into it, the implication had been clear enough to the Blood Saint. Fallen were hated by all, and distrusted just as much as the Queen of Hell. Well, not hated by all. People existed that saw the Fallen for what they were. People. They were still angels after all. The horses neighed nervously, snapping Calico from her thoughts. Kazakh raised a closed fist and the convoy stopped. A torch lit up ahead of them, held in the grip of a hooded angel, a halo floating idly above. There seemed to be small, spiky protrusions along the top and bottom of the ring. On both hips, and on the angel's back, were sword sheaths. Calico squinted. From the flickering torchlight she saw long white hair flowing out of the hood, and a green emerald embedded into light golden armor. This was not good.
Kaz?
The Saint of Light handed her the reins. I'll get him out of the way. As soon as I clear the road. You must keep going.
What?
Kazakh slipped off the cart and walked forward a bit.
Okay, this is Argos. Asshole.
Argos.
But more like thug type asshole. He runs the fighting schools. But he's also a prick.
Kazakh! The hooded angel waved. What brings you to the steppes so far from home? There's not your usual route back to the Light Springs. He glanced past Kazakh towards the pure and fallen angels near the carts. They all looked at Kazakh with slight fear, not knowing what to do. Kazakh stepped back into his line of sight. What I do is none of your business, Argos. I believe that's the same response you gave to me when I asked what you had been doing in hell with no orders from Petra. Argos chuckled, the wind carrying the sound towards him. You know, Kaz, I've been hearing a lot of reports about some treasonous individuals taking food to the fallen mongrels out there. Normally, I'd let the Purgatian Guard handle it. But it appears they've been getting killed off as of late. You wouldn't happen to know anything about that, would you? Kazakh hesitated. We're only passing through, Argos. The Saint of Blades nodded. Oh, are you? Well, it just seems that kind of strange you're only passing through. I mean, only thing back that way is Burning Village. He pointed his thumb behind him. There were a few gasps from those within earshot. Argos leaned in a bit. And perhaps my eyes are deceiving me. It's quite dark and my hood doesn't block all the damn rain, but are those not fallen behind you there, Kaz? One of the fallen angels hesitantly reached up to their cracked halo. True gold glowed faintly in the dark, only making it more obvious at the corruptive damage to the fallen halos. Kazakh looked back for a moment, then turned back to Argos. We all have our secrets, Argos. Go back to whatever task you are accomplishing, and I will not inform Petra of your dealings with the Dark Saints. Argos began laughing loudly, bracing himself on his knee as he bent over from his mirth. After a few moments, he wiped a tear of joy from his eye and stood up again. How noble of you to try to protect me, Kazakh. But who do you think sent me there to speak with him in the first place? Argos slipped one of his swords from its sheath. It was a blackish blade with a slightly burning tip, a dark iron hell blade. Truly a shame I have to kill you with this blade. Unfortunately, my angelic one is on the other sheath, and I don't want to put down my torch to grab it. Argos smirked. Calico stood up on the cart, manifesting her own dark metal blade. Argos sneered at her. Lady Calico. He gave a mock bow. Been too long since we last met. I seem to recall butchering your loyal dogs in front of you before my liege Petra plunged divinity through your beating heart. I'm truly sad to see you survived. There was a soft golden flash, and Dawn's grace, Kazakh's two-handed axe, manifested in his hands. Calico, turn the carts round. Get the others to safety. If Argos is right, Moonlight is gone. Calico hesitated for a moment.
Kazakh.
Go! Calico sighed and slapped the reins.
Yeah!
A yell echoed to the carts behind. Who say you get to leave, Saint of Change? Argos sprinted forward, but was intercepted by Kazakh's axe. Argos locked his blade against the axe blade, grinning as he pushed against the Saint of Life. You know, Kazakh, where there's smoke, there's also fire. The sinister intent of his smile lit a bulb in Kazakh's mind, but it was already too late. The convoy had barely finished turning around when the new front cart suddenly exploded violently, flames erupting skyward and lighting up the forest. A brunette angel, her halo ablaze with a bright flame and silver armor adorning her body, landed in front of the destruction and smiled. Lara, High Saint of Purity.
Shit.
A few frightened angels charged at her, but faster than Calico could yell out for them to stop. They were quickly burnt to a crisp, their screams echoing through the forest. Do leave some for me, sister! Argos shoved his torch against Kazakh's helmet, causing the Life Saint to recoil, unbalancing him. As Argos unlocked his blade and thrusted it, Kazakh managed to sidestep, forcing his hand forward and attempting to hit Argos with the bottom of the hilt. The Saint of Blades simply grabbed it to stop it. Meanwhile, Calico sat still on her cart, watching on one side as Argos slowly overpowered Kazakh, and on the other side as Lara burned more and more angels alive. She took a deep breath. There was one thing she could do, although she had promised not to involve the battle-weary Fallen in any more conflicts.
Trying to figure out how the fuck to pronounce that.
Good luck.
Snolingur Rooker.
Twisted twilight. The demonic words were yelled into the sky, almost echoing across the entirety of the dark steppes. Lada stopped her slow advance toward Calico's cart and raised an eyebrow. At first, nothing seemed to happen, and she laughed, advancing again until with a sonic boom the clouds above parted for a few precious seconds. Sunlight reflected off a metal wing. Lada turned quickly, but was lost beneath dust and smoke as something collided with her. A cart was thrown off the road, and fire spewed skyward as a crater formed. Argos cackled and outmaneuvered a desperate axe swing, stepping up behind Kazakh and slamming a sword hilt against the back of his helm, causing him to stumble forward but not quite fall over. You're weak, Kazakh. You even make my students look like mini blade saints themselves. Kazakh quickly turned, swinging again, forcing Argos to block with both swords. The advantage of the axe was that it gave distance when swung in certain ways. Sword clangs, yells, and exertion came from the crater, despite the dust and flames not yet clearing. At times, flashes of fire lit up silhouettes within. Calico hesitated for a moment, and then leapt off the cart and ran to Kazakh's aid.
Get out of here. Morgan and I can handle this.
Argos used his full strength to push his sword blades against the axe blade, ripping it out of Kazakh's grip where it quickly vanished with a small golden flash. In the time it took Kazakh to resummon it, Argos had already collided both of his swords against Calico's with a brilliant flash of sparks. He grinned and raised one blade, swinging it and forcing Calico to dodge backwards, yet he still managed to slice a thin cut across her stomach. Kazakh's axe came down quickly and silently, but was blocked by Argos turning sideways, now fighting both of them at once. He laughed, twirling and swinging with precise cuts. While Kazakh's armor held out against many of the blows he failed to deflect, Calico was unarmored and not so lucky. One cut nicked her arm, stumbling her, before another cut directly across her stomach, and with a final lucky swing against her knee, she fell backwards against a tree. Kazakh's fighting became erratic, more desperate than before. Calico! As Argos deflected an axe swing, twirling back round to deliver a death blow to the fallen, an ear-piercing scream echoed from the crater, causing the Saint of Blades to pause. He and Kazakh both looked towards the crater. A few angels backed away from it as an angel stepped out of the dust, breathing heavily. One of her wings was a beautiful white, the other clicking softly, with thousands of gears and cogs providing minute adjustments to make it as natural as possible. Atop her head was a halo, split in half, gigantic chunks missing on either side, and yet it still floated. Her sword seemed almost chilled and surrounded by a frosty aura, and a spiky vine surrounded it, growing out from the hilt and wrapping around the blade up to its tip. Morgan glanced back to the crater for a moment.
She's still alive. Gonna help her. Keep going.
Argos hesitated, but his decision was made once Kazakh lowered his axe. This isn't over. Argos snarled, and with rapid beating of his wings he flew quickly into the crater to recover Lada, before flying off into the darkness. The survivors slowly began to rally, salvaging what they could from the carts. Kazakh and Morgan knelt by Calico's side. She was slumped and bleeding. I'm sorry. I think she's... Morgan gripped Kazakh's gauntlet.
Sir, don't move.
Beneath his helm, Kazakh's eyes widened as Calico's halo seemed to absorb some sort of wisp from the corpse, then float over to an angel that was standing nearby. The angel looked up at the halo.
Lord Kazakh?
Calico's halo forcibly pushed into the space of the angel's halo, the latter falling to the ground and losing its glow. The angel gripped its head, screaming and holding its skull. Morgan and Kazakh slowly stood. I understand now. The angel stopped screaming as feathers blackened rapidly, features melted and reshaped, and height was lost. Eventually, standing before them was a perfect clone of Calico. Except it wasn't just a clone. Calico hugged herself and looked away.
I'm sorry you had to see that.
Kazakh was at a loss for words. I always knew you couldn't be killed, but I never realized your reincarnation was so...
Violent?
Morgan held her sword, Twisted Twilight, in a reverse grip, and walked over to Calico.
I don't get to choose who my soul takes over either.
Morgan wrapped her in a one-armed hug.
Mistress, I think you should return to the guild. Or hell. Something. Messed up.
It was then that Calico remembered what she had to do the following day.
I'll return to the guild.
I will salvage what I can from the supplies and continue onward to Moonlight. Perhaps Argus was bluffing. Morgan hesitated for a moment.
Can't really say I wanted to be out here again, but...
She turned to Kazakh and gave a thumbs up.
now that I am here, I'll help out for a little bit.
Kazakh nodded. Go, Saint of Change. Next we meet, I will let you know how things went.
Alright. Feel full healed.
Morgan smiled slightly.
You're getting better at demonic, mistress. Only took a few centuries.
The clockwork winged angel snickered as Calico punched her shoulder, then stepped through the rift. The rift took Calico to Hell's Gate. She couldn't claim to have many friends, but there was one demon she could speak to. She wondered if he was home.
Was home isn't frozen solid again.
She grabbed her halo and shook it, a golden coin seeming to manifest out of an inner ring.
I hope Styx isn't busy.
It would be a semi-long trip down the river, and she had a lot to think about. Chapter 13. A New Queen. Whilst Calico dealt with the Saint of Blades in heaven, Evelyn and Styx had docked the ferry of the damned on the riverbank and entered the eternal forest. They hadn't been within the forest for long before Styx spoke up nervously.
I've never really seen the insides of this place. It's, not what I expected. Kinda peaceful.
Evelyn shrugged next to her, idly tossing Pox's warpstone tip back and forth.
Seeing as there's no dock in the region, I'm not surprised you haven't been here. I have a few times, though.
Evelyn's yellow eyes peered into the shadows casted by the nigh impenetrable walls of trees.
I hate how dark it is. We're demons, we can see in the dark.
Evelyn looked to her right where Styx kept pace with her.
Yeah, well... unlike you, I was with Nox for most of my life. Hanging around the Lord of Shadow makes you paranoid.
She shuddered.
Ugh, fucking hate that bag of bones. One day I'll return the favor for the other day.
Styx decided to change the subject, idly swinging her arms as she walked.
What do you know about Mirkir exactly? Oh, right.
Evelyn reached into her pouch and pulled out a green warpstone, crushing and absorbing its fragments, shivering slightly from the pleasure.
So, you know the big famous villages. Zaka, Greyfall, Kilrest, those places?
Styx nodded slowly.
I know they were wiped off the map. Probably due to Nox.
Evelyn smirked and finger-gunned.
Not a bad guess, my friends. Anyway, as you and I both know, they all vanished. Mirkir was one of the smallest of those villages, and if my memory is right, their aspect is extinct.
Styx raised an eyebrow with interest.
I thought the only extinct aspect was death.
Evelyn chuckled.
Funny how you're older than me, yet I know more. There's a lot of extinct aspects, Styx. Anyway, Mirkir's aspect had to do with souls.
Evelyn stopped suddenly, causing Styx to walk a few steps more and stop as well, turning back to look at the fallen.
And you watch over the river of souls. You can control the ghosts. To some extent, anyway.
Styx hesitated.
You don't think that's a coincidence?
Evelyn shook her head.
My mind may be ravaged by warpstone, but I'm not an idiot.
She turned back to walking.
Never said you're an idiot.
Evelyn giggled.
I know I'm calling myself an idiot. Lighten up.
She patted Styx on the shoulder. They walked in silence for a bit, peering through the branches and boughs, until Evelyn spoke up again.
Say, Styx, how do those coins of yours work?
The watcher seemed a little surprised at the question and stopped, pulling one from her coat and looking at it. One side held her likeness. The other appeared to be two smaller flames, combining into one dual flame, an emblem she had used for as long as she could remember, without knowing its origin.
Well, they work better if I'm already on the river, but they sorta cause a tug in my chest, and from there I just sorta know who it is that wants my attention. There's exceptions. When I'm drunk or really distracted, I don't really notice the tug.
Speaking of which, she felt one a few minutes back. She hoped it wasn't important. Evelyn nodded in understanding.
Sometimes, if I'm just not feeling up to it, I send the ferry alone.
Styx pocketed the coin and they kept walking. Evelyn raised an eyebrow.
Aren't you the only one that can sail it? Technically, yes. But if all someone wants to do is get around hell, I can send them the boat, and the soul that powers it will be able to help them. Getting around the more world, though, that requires me to be aboard. Cool.
They walked in silence for a little while again, until Styx shocked Evelyn out of her warpstone-addled thoughts.
You think we'll find answers in Mirker? Honestly, I'm more worried about finding the fucking place. Maybe we'd cover more ground if we split up.
Styx grabbed Evelyn's shoulder and turned her to face the Watcher.
Is that wise? I mean, with all the monsters and such?
Evelyn saw the mild fear in Styx's grey eyes and smiled softly, patting her head.
You know what? It's getting late. How about you head back to the ferry, and I'll fly around a bit and meet you back there.
Styx hesitated.
You sure? Sure, I'm sure. I'll be about 10 minutes, and we'll head back to the cabin.
Styx nodded.
I'll see you in a bit then.
Evelyn beat her wings and flew up above the canopy of the forest, leaving Styx to slip her hands into her pockets and begin trudging back the way they'd come. It hadn't taken too long to get back, and she sat against the mast of her humble vessel, idly twirling her clockwork pistol. She briefly contemplated looking for some smaller inlet. While she already knew the River of Souls had no such thing, surely Sapphire or Demonica came close enough to be a viable way to try to find Mirko. Villages did not survive without water, after all.
So,
This was the hooded fellow with in the Hall of Villains earlier, yeah?
yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
The very short guy that pretended to be Zoe's reflection, wears like the oversized wizarding hat.
You are stronger than you realize, you know. Styx suppressed a scream of surprise, quickly leaping to her feet and whirling around, aiming her gun. She came face to face with Salem, the Saint of Madness.
What in the nine hells do you want? Gonna shatter my mind to take my memories like you did to Zoe?
No, not at all. A lot of people are looking for answers to a lot of things as of late, you see. One queen seeks her memories. Another seeks equality for the very race she damned. And yet another has no comprehension of who she truly is. Styx softly repeated the last part.
Yet another.
She pulled back the hammer of her flintlock.
There's no way you're talking about me. I'm not a queen.
Salem nodded, crossing his arms. You aren't. Not yet. But I'm not here to play the game of lies, Watcher. Styx hesitated for a moment, her firearm lowering for a moment before she quickly raised it again with a confused laugh.
Me? Queen? Of what? Hell is Zoe's domain.
Salem began to pace in circles, ignoring the fact that Styx kept her weapon trained on him at all times. Or you could claim the Obsidian Throne yourself. You command the spirits of the fallen. I've seen your power. It rivals that of my Lord Nox. There were a few moments of silence, except for the soft footsteps of Salem's feet on the ferry's deck, and Styx's shuffling to keep him in sight. The clockwork pistol began to lower again.
I'm just a lowly watcher. I can't defeat Nox by myself.
Salem stopped behind her. Believe me, Watcher of the River, you could defeat Nox 10 times over. Styx shook her head, shaking a little now.
I could never hurt Zoe again.
Then how about a deal of sorts? As you're already aware, by morning an expedition will be sent out to retrieve Misery's End. Erebus and I have worked hard to make sure the blade will not be too difficult to attain. I know better than anyone how the Blood Saint's memories work. She'll regain all of them upon taking the blade, and she will remember that fateful night you took the essence of apocalypse from her. Salem paced around in front of her and stopped, red steadying into grey. We will speak again, Watcher. After she remembers. Styx was about to speak, but fell silent as Salem raised a hand. Styx, your dearest companion was overthrown for a reason. If she regains the throne, history will only repeat itself. Nox cannot lead. He lacks the will to do what must be done for the Dark Kingdom. Styx scoffed.
You mentioned Erebus. Is this all her idea?
Salem took a step closer. On the contrary, some schemes cannot be devised alone. Although she is the saint of deception, her greatest lie is to herself, believing that everything she has achieved has been done by herself. Salem turned away. I will return to your side once the Fox Demon has her little sword back. Do try not to get yourself killed, Watcher. There's a lot riding on you. Salem melted into the ground, and Styx took a few uncertain steps back, slumping to the deck, her back against the side of the ferry.
Dark Saints wouldn't actually try to overthrow her again, would they?
She hesitated, then hugged her knees.
Can't watch them hurt her again. They actually managed to kill her.
Out of nowhere, a sort of dizziness came over Styx, and she laid down in the ferry, covering her head.
Evelyn, come back soon, please.
While she didn't know of it, it was no coincidence that the dizziness coincided with the death and reincarnation of Calico during her battle with the Saint of Blades. How was that for Salem, by the way?
Pretty good. I can't remember what the original voice he did for it was.
Neither can I. I've slept since then.
Sleep does make you forget things. I think at least 3 of my voices have just blended together at this point because I can't remember what they were either.
I'm just desperately trying to stay hydrated.
It do be difficult when you're reading for 3 hours straight.
Yeah.
I imagine it's worse when you're reading by yourself because you don't have someone to take over.
Yeah. No, I am likely good for about another maybe 30 or so minutes, but we may have to make this chapter, or the 15th chapter, the last one for the evening. I
Sounds
think
good
that's
to me.
about all my voice has in terms of endurance and strength.
We could just end after chapter 14.
Hmm. I won't ask if there's a good cliffhanger there. No spoilers.
We'll just have
Chapter
to find
14.
out.
Yeah, there we go. Dun dun dun. Chapter 14. The Hunt for Misery's End. As the mortal sun rose high in the sky, its light struggled to pierce the overcast sky. A storm was approaching. 3 individuals stood on one of the docks: Asbestos, Calico, and Da Vinci. The inventor crossed her arms and looked round.
Asbestos, where did all the ships go?
The guildmaster's arms clanked as he shrugged. Had a couple of reports to look into. We also sent a group north. Calico leaned against the supply crate, idly flipping a golden coin round her fingers.
Only thing to the north is Sigmara.
Asbestos nodded slightly. "'Tis true, but they're going farther than that." Da Vinci exhaled.
You sure that's wise, Guildmaster?
"You have some misgivings, inventor." Da Vinci hesitated, then shook her head. There was silence for a couple of moments before Asbestos turned away from them. "I know you're waiting for the rest of your group, Lady Calico, but I'm considering this expedition underway. I'll be seeing you when you return." He clasped his hands round his back and began walking back to the guild. The 2 waited for him to leave earshot before Calico held out the coin to Da Vinci.
Well, I've never summoned her before.
Da Vinci smirked and took the coin.
6, my inquisitive soul calls thee.
The coin impacted the water, and on cue a rift opened. The ferry of the dam bumping idly against the dock, with Styx at the steering oar, and Evelyn crushing a warpstone at the front. The corrupted Fallen waved.
For the record, Vince, we were just about to show up by ourselves.
She gave a mock bow towards her fellow Fallen.
Lady Alexandria Calico, high sudden change. We meet again.
Calico crossed her arms.
Lady Evelyn Strix, Darkseen corruption.
Da Vinci stepped between them, sarcastically bowing in the direction of the ocean and speaking in a mockingly proper voice.
Jacqueline da Vinci, clockwork inventor.
She returned to normal.
Where's a blood saint and her companion?
Styx shrugged, suppressing a giggle at these unnecessary introductions. While Calico was the outsider, they did all know each other. A moment later, a rift opened on the edge of the dock, and out stepped Zoe. Following behind her was a short girl with one blue eye and one dark void of an eye socket. Her short black hair barely covered her ears, and she dressed casually like the others, albeit with a broken sword sheathed on her hip. Zoe hopped onto the ferry.
Still not sure why you want Eris with us, Calico.
The others hopped aboard as a new rift opened and the ferry began to slink back into hell.
Simple. Even numbers.
Evelyn tapped Calico on the shoulder with a shit-eating grin.
Has nothing to do with Petra believing 6 is the luckiest number in the 3 realms, does it?
As the realization struck, Calico began to mentally scream at the top of her lungs, while Evelyn laughed out loud. Styx had a small laugh herself, and gripped the steering oar. She took notice of Zoe deliberately sitting down next to the oar and smiled to herself.
Next stop, Sigmara.
The ferry re-entered the mortal realm on the open sea just north of Sigmara. Heaven's Gate was built on a rocky plateau at the northeastern tip of the continent. The ferry sat floating beneath the plateau for a few moments in utter silence before Da Vinci stood up and clapped her hands together once.
So, we didn't really talk about this before, but how the hell are we gonna get up there?
Zoe shrugged.
Just climb it? If we fall, what's the... Oh, right.
Zoe slapped her forehead.
I forgot you're human, Vince. Sorry.
Calico and Da Vinci shared a look before the inventor sat down and dug round in her backpack.
Should have brought my grappling hook. It's only a prototype, but it would have been useful.
Evelyn crushed a warpstone.
Calico and I can fly. Why don't we just carry you guys up there? I'm heavier than I look.
Da Vinci jiggled her backpack, indicating where the extra weight would come from. Calico jumped slightly from the broken voice that emanated from Iris, as if she struggled against an unseen force to form words.
Scared of heights?
Evelyn sighed.
Alright. Sorry, Eris. No flying then.
Calico slipped a map from the folds of a coat she was wearing to hide her wings and held it up.
We can go to Aerith, the support village closest to Heaven's Gate. Ah, yes, the thrice angel-blessed waters of Aerith. In no way, shape, or form will my humble fairy ignite in those waters.
Evelyn rolled her eyes and tapped a spot on the map.
Styx, land us at this beach. We'll just walk around a cliff to get up to the capital.
Iris lightly pressed a finger against the map from the other side.
Lol.
The ferry began to slowly move forward as Styx began taking them to the beach.
Eris is right. How are we gonna scale the wall?
Zoe threw her hands up.
We'll fucking figure it out when we get there. Man, none of us prepared for this shit, did we?
She laughed. Dark Upper Dark, welcome in.
I think we should split up when we get there.
All eyes locked onto Calico, and she blushed and looked down. She cleared her throat.
There's 6 of us. Besides Da Vinci, we're all non-humans. We all stick out like sore thumbs. I'm not saying go one by one, but at least if we do get noticed, we'd have to divide their forces.
There was silence for a few moments before Zoe pulled her hood up to cover her fox ears and smiled slightly.
You know what? Alex has a point. We stick out like fresh blood on grass. Question is, though, who goes with who?
Evelyn crossed her arms as they approached the beach.
How about me, Eris, and Vince, then you, Styx, and Calico?
Da Vinci nodded.
It's smart.
Zoe and Styx looked confused.
Why is that specific grouping smart, Vince? Don't worry about it.
The ferry slid against the sand of the beach.
Here we go. Good fortune to you all.
Zoe stood and cracked her knuckles, grinning.
May our blood flow and continue may our blood flow. Fuck. May our blood continue to flow and grant us strength.
Styx hesitated, but as everyone began to hop off the ferry and split up, she added her own phrase.
May our souls endure and deny all invitations to the river of death.
Traveling through the mellow fields on the gentle sloping land towards the plateau was entirely uneventful. No sounds other than the chirping of birds and the occasional kicked rocks as Zoe's group walked down a dirt road in a winding but consistent direction towards Heaven's Gate. By now it had begun to rain lightly, the cloud cover and low visibility both assisting and hindering the group. Zoe clasped her hands behind her head and yawned.
Tired already?
Styx playfully slapped her arm. The fox demon smirked.
I haven't slept in 3 days.
Calico walked up on Zoe's other side, then held out an arm, stopping the other two.
Something feels off.
Zoe manifested her sword, and Styx pulled out her clockwork pistol. The trio slowly scanned the grey precipitation. A lightning bolt lit up the field, followed by a booming thundercrack. Styx's wolf ears twitched slightly as beneath the loud boom she heard a spell spoken.
Acio.
Zoe seemed to freeze entirely.
That isn't good.
The Watcher and the Fallen pressed their backs together, slowly looking around. A battle cry made itself known above the sound of falling rain, and a man stood up from the field and charged at them. He wore a wide-brimmed Inquisitor hat, its trim as red as magma. His armor followed the same color scheme of black and red. On his arms were 2 gauntlets with glowing warpstone cores in the tops of his hands. Clearly, a paired artifact of some sort. As he reached the pair, Calico shoved Styx out of the way and blocked a haymaker with her newly manifested sword.
Got something for this man?
Suggestions?
I don't know, what do you think an Inquisitor would sound like?
Well, well, Adele, what do we have here? The man snickered.
Place you.
This time, Styx quickly raised her gun and pulled the trigger with purpose. Blood splattered from the air itself, and the spell was cut off. But Styx knew whoever it was, she hadn't killed them.
Shit.
Styx ran over to Zoe and looked her over.
Calico, how do I undo this spell? I'm a little busy.
Every swing of the assailant, Calico managed to effortlessly block with her sword, yet at the same time, she couldn't land a strike either. In frustration, she let fly a swift cut, which was blocked as the man's other fist came in from below and slammed into her gut hard enough to make her stumble back and vomit blood. Another slammed into her face, but she rolled across the wet grass and bounced back to her feet, wiping blood off her nose. The man cackled sadistically, but abruptly stood as his next punch was grabbed by Calico's hand. She spit blood to the side, determination in her eyes.
I already died yesterday. I'm not keen on dying again so quickly.
The man furrowed his eyebrows and pulled away. Styx watched them fight for a few moments, her grey eyes noting the warpstone cores of the gauntlets. At the start of the fight, they'd been blue, but as the fight continued, they'd slowly begun to change color. It was then she noticed the man was trying to block with both equally.
Defending himself overloads the cores.
Another spell, another crack of Styx's pistol, frustratingly resulting in another non-fatal wound.
Calico, the warpstone in his gauntlets. Your strikes are overloading them.
Calico narrowly dodged another punch, nodding slightly in acknowledgement. She began to strike with renewed fury, slowly but surely pushing the brawler back. Calico also began to note the reddening warpstone.
You're dead, buddy. Manifestus.
Styx fired, her eyes widening as she realized she missed. There were 2 flashes of light, and when they could see again, the brawler was gone, likely the mage with him. Smoke was curling off of Zoe, and after a moment, she was consumed by flames. After they cleared, she swung her sword randomly at the air.
Come back here, you fuckers!
She sighed and impaled Hellbringer into the dirt.
What the hell was that about?
Calico shrugged, trying to regain her breath, her sword disappearing.
Seems Ulrich knows we're coming.
Zoe shouldered Hellbringer with a grin. Styx looked confused.
Why are you smiling?
Zoe turned to face Styx.
I wish I could see the faces of whoever tries to fuck with Eris.
The other group had taken a more direct route, walking straight across some farmland. As they walked, Evelyn idly crushed green warpstones, leaving a trail of fragments behind them. Da Vinci sighed.
Post up Eris signs, why don't you? Oh wait. Relax. If we get attacked by some human patrol, what's the worst that could happen?
Da Vinci pulled a clockwork axe off her backpack as a precaution.
I get killed? You forget that
Evelyn turned and began walking backwards in front of the inventor with a sly smile as she interrupted.
am a demon.
Da Vinci stopped, and Eris, who was walking in the back, slowly taking apart a leaf, bumped into her.
Sorry, Eris.
She started walking again.
I'm a human, Evelyn. I'm under the influence, not stupid, Vince.
The smile never faded from the fallen angel's face.
You have a demonic rune on your eye patch that translates into a wisdom rune. You have a codex in your backpack. And you're looking sound way too young for a woman with gray hair.
Evelyn clasped her hands behind back and leaned forward, still walking backwards.
And, newsflash, humans have to dye their hair to get those halo highlights. They don't grow naturally like yours do.
Da Vinci clenched her fist and sighed.
You're the first to realize there's a rune on my eye patch.
Her eye narrowed.
What you know about my codex, though? Simply because I accidentally found one and met your cousin. Wonderful guy. Fucking hate him.
Evelyn smiled brightly for a moment before turning forward again.
Point being, I know what it feels like to be in proximity to one, so I can sense it.
Da Vinci nodded slowly.
Yet Zoe's been around them and she can't. Zoe is Zoe.
Evelyn shrugged.
Don't mind me asking, though. Why are you hanging around the guild? You're the speaker, right? Shouldn't you be at the librarian?
Geddes bent down and picked up a new leaf to take apart. They walked quietly for a few moments as rain poured down around them. Da Vinci sighed.
I grew tired of observing. I wanted to do something with my existence. I went to Rise and asked her to teach me how to create things.
Da Vinci smiled slightly.
We got close.
The smile turned into a frown.
Too close. Cagliostro threatened her, so I did what I had to do.
Evelyn turned and started walking backwards, again, eyes wide.
He wasn't lying.
Da Vinci had a good guess what the fallen was talking about.
I threw all his precious black books through a portal and scattered them to the winds. Then Rise told me about Ferris. So I fled there to hide from Cagliostro and so he wouldn't target her.
Da Vinci gripped her axe tighter.
I didn't have a name before I met Rise. I was only known as a speaker. Before I left for Ferris, Rise gave me a name and a gift. She copied the style I created to the best of her ability to make this axe. But then why are you here and not in Ferris?
Da Vinci sighed.
A new king took over and ran the kingdom to the ground. As a day that will forever be a blight in their history. The sacking of the arts. The new king wanted weapons to kill any engineer that refused to build for him. All of the artists, even those he wasn't searching for, fled.
Da Vinci let out a small chuckle.
So I met Styx, actually. Rise had realized what was going on and sent her to rescue me.
Da Vinci looked up and realized she had become so engrossed in her tale that they'd all stopped walking. Geddes slipped her hand into Da Vinci's and offered a small smile.
Don't take this the wrong way, but I'm sort of glad Ferris didn't work out. We wouldn't have met you otherwise.
Da Vinci snorted.
Gee, thanks. All of my traumas were worth it for us to become friends, right?
Evelyn grinned.
Now you're catching on. Come on, let's go burn down Aerith.
Geddes looked confused.
But... well?
Da Vinci's eye widened as she seemed to realize the plan.
Set their ports ablaze, give the others more time to find Misery's end.
Da Vinci shook her head with a smile.
Almost like you have better days when you've been crushing Warpstone. Damn right I do.
And that brings us to chapter 15, The Queen Remembers. We will pick that up same time next week. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Everybody on my side of chat, please, if you haven't already, follow Zoe across all platforms. Her card page is pinned there to chat. Again, not a bad place to pause. Indeed. Yeah, it's a good stopping off point, and that brings us to just over 1/4 of the way through the entire book here. So yeah, we'll try and get through another, I don't know, 25 to 50 pages. We'll see. But yeah, we'll pick that up next week. Do make sure that you go follow Zoe across all platforms. Like and subscribe to all of her content on YouTube. Make sure that you sub if you haven't to her channel. Maybe give some subs. As for me, my website is lordrexworth.com. That is lordrexworth.com. Do follow me on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Kick. Either Lord Rexworth or Lord Rexworth VT. Lord Rexworth VT for YouTube and for Instagram. Everything else is just Lord Rexworth. And on that note, we should find somebody to raid.
Those on my side should give Rex here a follow and a subscribe and all that stuff as well.
Thank you.
And I give you a shout out in my chat.
Thank you. Let's see. I believe this week, I think last week we raided into one of my gen mates at Project Astadia. How about this week we raid into one of the Moonlighters? What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Who are we raiding?
Okay. Let's see. Who do we have that's online that I'm following?
Diamond's doing her, TTRPG thing.
Oh, okay. You want to raid into Diamond Dust?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We can certainly do that. Let me just pull them up real quick. Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah. Looks like they've got a collab going on with Scarlet Dark Moon.
Neko Cutie Sasha, I see, is in there.
Bold Cup of Joe, too. And is that Emeron? Is that how it's pronounced? A flesh tuber. How interesting.
Dear God.
Flesh tubers and VTubers together. Worlds colliding, everybody. All right, well, that settles it then, doesn't it? Right. We'll go raid Diamond Dust 320. Set that up there. Okay, that's been punched in. Let me grab the copy pasta for everybody on my side so we can do a most noble raid. Quack.
Quack.
Thank you for that redeem action. Alrighty, everybody. We'll do this again next week. Zoe, thank you so much for this. Thank you all to chat on my side and on hers as well. Let's see, all of you that are following me, I will be back. Next scheduled stream is 8 p.m. Saturday Eastern Standard Time for Stray. I do believe we've got a Lethal Company collab coming up Friday night with Project Estadia. So stay tuned for that. Anything upcoming that you want to plug, Zoe, before we head out?
No, I got nothing. I have no idea what I'm streaming tomorrow.
Okay. All right. That's good. All right, everybody. Take care. I'm Lord Rexworth, wishing you all the best, and God bless.
Alright, club patrons, send all the head pats and cheers. I'll see you over there. And I hope you all enjoyed the stream. I did not time this raid correctly. Bye!